Happy Artful. Hello. Guys, today I had kind of a crisis. I realized I watch Australian videos literally every day of my life, and yet, how much do I know about Anthony Albanese? Nothing. Next to nothing. Which just made me feel really stupid. Like, if someone... I'm sure most people know a decent amount. Most people in Australia know a decent amount about Joe Biden. You know, just the basics at least. I don't know anything about Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister in Australia. So today I have to change that. He's the most powerful man in Oz. So as you can see, I searched who is Anthony Albanese, and ABC News made a video with that exact title, Who is Anthony Albanese? I did choose them because, you know, you ask that kind of question about any politician, you're going to get a million different answers from people who either support him or oppose him. And I'm trying to just get, you know, the facts. I don't want some like twist on it all. So ABC News, I figured they're kind of like a vanilla news organization, at least here in the States they are. So hopefully this isn't too slanted. We'll see. You guys let me know.
Throughout his long parliamentary career, Anthony Albanese has rarely savoured the sweet taste of victory at a federal election.
That's amazing.
So he's like a lifetime parliamentary member, like a lifetime politician type guy.
Spending roughly 2 decades trying to win over voters from opposition.
It's not a good sign when the babies are crying when you're tickling their feet
That's amazing.
Spending roughly 2
or their hands. That's not good. I mean, I'm just right off the bat, I don't know anything about them, but that's not a good sign.
decades trying to win over voters from opposition. For most of this parliamentary term, he's run a small target strategy, heavy on picture opportunities and light on precise policy detail.
Did they just say what... All he does is go around taking pictures? He doesn't actually stand for anything? He just takes a bunch of pictures? That's what it sounded like they said. That's not what I'm saying.
Target strategy, heavy on picture opportunities and light on precise policy detail.
Okay. Okay.
Although, as he's affectionately known, has wanted the 3-term coalition government to be the story.
Is this as good as it gets? Is this government going to get better in its second decade?
Polls suggest the strategy...
What does he mean in its second decade?
In its second decade?
Polls suggest the strategy has worked. He starts this race
I'm sure that's a stupid question, but...
well in front and has prepared himself partly by shedding 18 kilograms and undergoing a major makeover.
I mean, what's happened to you?
Well, I mean, I guess that's at least speaks to he has some kind of motivation, at least in his personal life. It's hardly related to him as a politician or what policies he has. But, okay, that's always impressive when people get into shape and stuff.
I'm hungry.
Literally hungry.
I'm hungry, I want to be match fit. And the other thing that happened, of course, is almost dying last year in a car accident.
He says this smash at the start of 2021
Whoa.
changed his life.
It made me absolutely determined to make a contribution to the country.
That's interesting, you know? And for some reason, when he says that, I kind of believe him that at least maybe, I don't know anything about him once again, but he might actually believe what he says. You know? Because if I can imagine if you get a near-death experience like that, and it might put into perspective what's important and not, and he says it made him realize, okay, he wants to make a difference. Okay. That's good overall.
Anthony Albanese grew up in public housing in the inner west of Sydney. The son of a single mum, he shared the story of his childhood many times.
That's always good when they're not born with like a silver spoon in their mouth, you know? He went through some hardship as a child, I guess, it sounds like.
I've always had respect for people who do it tough, and people in public housing often do.
Involved in student politics at Sydney University, Mr.
Is that him? Harry Potter? Is that at Hogwarts? Where did he say?
People in public housing often do.
Involved in student politics at Sydney University,
Oh, Sydney University.
Mr Albanese became a key and often feisty
Why did that lady just grab him by the tie? That's highly disrespectful.
figure in the New South Wales Labor left.
Well, I'm here, mate.
He was elected to Parliament the same year after a close tussle for his seat.
There were many in the media who confidently predicted that I would not be in this chamber today.
But only really shot to national prominence as a minister during the Rudd and then Gillard governments, building his profile in all sorts of places.
I'm Anthony Albanese.
That's
and
cool.
You're watching Rage.
Mr
He's a DJ.
Albanese was widely regarded
I mean, I wish I could hear him do it or whatever, but
as a skillful leader of the House in the historic hung Parliament and was publicly frustrated by Labor's leadership wars.
Well, this is tough.
you know what I have to say? Just full disclosure, I don't even know if this guy is conservative or liberal. I'm that ignorant, guys. I should be ashamed, and yet I'm here saying it to the world. It's true. I don't even know if he's conservative or liberal. So I really have no idea what to think of this guy. So far, they're just talking about like his personal life.
As a skillful leader of the House in the historic hung Parliament and was publicly frustrated by Labor's leadership wars.
Well, this is tough.
So if he's frustrated by the Labour's fight Tories, I don't know what a Tory is, guys. This is really hard for me. I'm trying to figure out these words like fight Labours and Tories. I need to at least know what that means. Australia. Guys, I'm not... Oh, Australian Conservatives. Is a Tory, I guess. Derogatory term in Australia to describe conservative members of the Liberal Party of Australia. Conservative members of the Liberal Party of Australia. Now I'm even more confused. Let's just continue.
Tough. I like fighting Tories.
So he's a liberal guy, right?
He was promoted to Deputy PM when Kevin Rudd returned briefly to power.
He's Deputy Prime Minister. Quick, there you go.
And in the
You know what? I'm going to pause and figure that out because I need to know that as a baseline at least. Okay. It seems to me this guy is like left-leaning, liberal. If he was in America, he'd be a Democrat. Got it. At least now I feel like I have a foundational something to stand on when trying to figure out what's going on here.
wake of Labor's 2013 election defeat, stood unsuccessfully against Bill Shorten for the party's leadership. It was only after the shock 2019 election defeat that Mr Albanese got the prize he was after, the chance to lead Labor into an election campaign.
I have the honour to inform the House that the Australian Labor Party has elected me as its leader.
I need to look up another video. I need to brush up on Australian politics in general, because I don't know how many different parties there are. You know, here in America, it's super simple. We just have basically just have the Democrats and the Republicans and blah, blah, blah. They just fight. But I know in other countries, there's many more than that sometimes. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the case. I don't remember the case with Australia. I don't remember.
At this point in the electoral cycle, it's often pointed out that Labor has won just 3 elections from opposition in the past 70-odd years. That's partly, of course, because changes of federal government are rare. But a win for Anthony Albanese this year would forever cement his name in Labor folklore. There's no doubt Anthony Albanese has been helped by Scott Morrison's missteps, and there are some who still wonder how the opposition leader will fare under the spotlight of a campaign.
This is the risk that Labor presents. They know how to start spending, but they don't know how to stop.
But his colleagues are increasingly hopeful of success now the election has been called.
What wins an election is a determination to present a vision for the country.
The question is, has he convinced enough Australians of his vision, and will he win over more during the next few weeks? James Glenday, ABC News, Canberra.
Okay. You know what? Honestly, I'm going to see if I can find another short video just to get a little more info. All right, let's keep going. Just a 2-minute video.
Tonight, the Australian people have voted for change.
Anthony Albanese was sworn in as Australia's 31st Prime Minister on May 23rd.
Yeah.
Albanese's Labour Party defeated the ruling coalition in Australia's 2022 federal elections. The Labour Party came to power after nearly a decade of Conservative rule.
So this is a big change. This guy winning was a big deal, huh?
Born in Sydney, Albanese was raised by a single mother
I heard all this.
under Kevin Rudd in 2013.
I'm sorry.
As Deputy Prime Minister under Kevin Rudd in 2013. He has served as a cabinet minister under the leadership of Rudd and Julia Gillard.
This lady talks too slow, I'm just being honest.
He was the leader of the opposition since 2019.
Pick it up. Okay, what has he
During
promised? Here
his
we go.
campaign,
Here's
Albanese
something.
promised to improve Australia's aged care sector, provide cheaper childcare, and lessen the gender
Cheaper childcare, that hits home. Okay.
wage gap.
Gender wage gap. Got it.
Albanese also vowed
Typical kind of like Democrat type stuff, at least here in America.
to tackle climate change and said Australia could become a renewable energy superpower.
Okay.
Climate change was one of the most important concerns for Australian voters in this election.
That's kind of interesting. I would have thought that by far and away the most important issue would have been housing, rent, inflation. Far and away. I mean, I'm all for saving the climate and everything. That's great. That's just what I would have thought as far as I have my finger somewhat on the pulse of what's going on in Australia. And to hear it was climate change is the biggest concern when people can't even afford to freaking rent out the backyard, live in a tent in someone's backyard. You guys remember that news story? Someone was trying to rent out their backyard for like $500 a week. Anyway. Yeah, that's what I would have thought was the major, but he was elected in 22. So maybe back then, well, inflation was certainly still running pretty bad and housing was certainly high. So yeah, that's just kind of surprising. Okay.
Especially after 3 years of devastating wildfires.
That makes sense. That's what I'm not remembering. Like, given that context, it does make sense. Okay.
Floods.
Okay. Climate. Floods and wildfires.
During the wildfires, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison.
I mean, here in America, we certainly have had our fair share of fires in the past few years, at least over there on the West Coast. But for the most part, climate change is still kind of an issue that's like, oh, you know, it doesn't impact us immediately. At least that's how it feels. Doesn't feel that way. But if it became an issue where it's like, guys, the country is flooding and it's on fire and we need to fix this, then that becomes much more urgent. So I could see how that's the biggest issue. These are funny masks.
Was criticized by many for holidaying in Hawaii.
Ooh, he was holidaying.
The Labour Party has pledged to reach emission net zero by 2050.
Okay. Okay. Well, at least I got a little bit of policy stuff there. I kind of understand a little bit. To be honest, he kind of reminds me of like Joe Biden's situation. It doesn't seem that dissimilar. Just at face value, you know, it's kind of like a lifelong liberal politician elected after a long reign of conservative. I mean, here in America, it was only one term of Trump. Before that, we had Obama, so that part's not exactly parallel, but okay. At least I feel like I have an understanding to some extent of who's running things down under right now. How's he doing, guys? How's it going? I don't know. That's a genuine question. I'm not trying to be like, how's that working out or anything like that. I'm actually wondering. Are people liking him? Are people not liking him? Overall, usually people are I don't know. The way it seems to work here in the US is a new president is elected, people kind of like him at first, and then it's all downhill from there. You ask like a few years later, everyone hates him. Sometimes. Anyway. Well, I feel a little bit more informed, so that's good. Thanks for watching. Happy Arvo. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.